What you're about to see has only been done once in NFL history.
Listen, we're not joking. This kid can really drill the ball.
Holy smokes. They got a shot.
Wait, what was that?
That's crazy. That the NFL record out because it's preseason. But that's
A 70-yard field goal? You're not imagining it. One swing of a leg and the ball travels farther than most offenses manage in a play. Even though this happened in a preseason game, this is officially the longest made kick ever in an NFL field. It's the kind of moment that makes you stop, rewind, and wonder, how did we get here? Because kicks like this used to be impossible, and now they're starting to look almost normal. The NFL didn't add a three-point line, and the field didn't shrink. But football's going through its own version of a three-point revolution, led by the quietest players on the roster.
Wow! NFL!
This is a graph of field goals attempted across the league from 2000 to 2024. On the x-axis, you have the years. On the y-axis, the percent change in field goals attempted since 2000. Basically, how much more or less teams are kicking from different distances. We start off by graphing field goals kicked in the range of 20 to 29 yards, followed by 30 to 39 yards, and finally 40 to 49 yards. As you can see, all three of these lines remain the same, with there being little to no change in the amount of field goals kicked since 2000 from these distances. Then something interesting happens. Field goals taken from 10 to 19 yards have shown a decline over the years. Field goal attempts in this range dropped from 31 all the way back in 2000 to only 2 attempts in 2024. Coaches aren't settling anymore. Teams are opting to go for it in the red zone in modern times, as opposed to playing it safe and kicking it. And then there's the 50 yards attempt. With an initial boom in the 2010s with kickers starting to kick farther, the amount of field goals taken from 50 yards or more has doubled since 2019. Yes, you heard that right. Teams are kicking field goals farther and farther away every single year at a record pace. 50 and 60-yard field goals are starting to become the new norm. And ironically, a position that used to be an afterthought in the sport of football is quietly becoming one of the most important positions in an NFL team. This season and last, something crystallized. Kickers from deep are no longer novelties, they're weapons. In 2024, the league set a record for field goal attempts, and the story wasn't how many, but from where. Nearly 70% of kicks from 50 yards or more went through, the best mark the league has ever seen. That wasn't a fluke year, it became the baseline. And 2025 has only pushed it further, with record-threatening makes, new K-ball preparation rules, and coaches who trust their specialists more than ever. 2 decades ago, a 50-yard attempt was rare, something you might see once every few games. Even in 2019, it was an occasional call. Now, it's routine because the math supports it. Here's a graph showing field goal percentages from 50 yards and beyond since 2000. In 2024, kickers converted about 70% from this range, an absurd number when you remember that 2 decades ago, anything past 50 was a coin flip. And in 2025, kickers are on pace to break this record again as they are kicking 71% through 6 games. Now, let's look at how strong that improvement actually is. Using an R-squared calculation, we can measure the correlation between time and accuracy. Basically, how much the passing years have influenced the rise in makes. From 2000 to 2024, the R-squared value comes out to 0.6, which indicates a moderately strong relationship. In simple terms, there's clear evidence that accuracy from deep has steadily climbed over time. Now, switch the graph to kicks from 30 to 39 yards. The R-squared value here jumps to 0.73, the highest correlation of any range. One likely reason: practice habits. Extra points have hovered around 33 yards ever since they were moved back in 2015, meaning kickers have spent years drilling that exact distance more than any other. So while the highlight reels focus on the 60-yard bombs, the data shows something bigger. Kickers aren't just getting better from deep, they're getting better from everywhere. So what changed? Practically everything. Coaching became specialized. Independent kicking camps and technique labs now run year-round. Former pros built a network of instruction that didn't exist in the 90s, turning kicking into its own ecosystem of science and repetition. The job just simply professionalized. But it's not just kickers. Long snappers and holders operate with mechanical precision. Protection units are drilled to buy exactly 1.3 seconds of clean time. It's a coordinated system, closer to a pit crew than a single motion. Athlete profiles evolved too. More soccer backgrounds, better lower body power, more biomechanical feedback. A modern kicker trains like a golfer for rhythm, like a sprinter for explosiveness, and like a quarterback for mental prep. Once the processing talent caught up, coaches followed. A decade ago, 60-yard attempts were something you tried in warm-ups. Now analytics-minded staffs view them like long threes in basketball. If the expected value checks out, you take the shot. That shift in logic is clear on film. Attempts from deep have climbed every single year because the rewards outweigh the risks.
And it's off the crossbar.
Then came 2025 and small rules tweak that became a big talking point. In March, the league passed Resolution G2. Teams can prepare their K-balls before game day, the same way quarterbacks have prepped their cue balls. After a 65-yard outdoor bomb against Philadelphia, Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio vented. His argument, the changed K-ball prep drastically juiced the kicking game, an asterisk era, but coaches around the league were mixed. Some thought that was overcooked. Early 2025 numbers for 50-plus yard kicks were strong, but not clearly above the best early season marks we've already seen. One special teams coordinator suggested you might get 3 to 5 extra yards of carry per ball, but the odds of making kicks were largely unchanged. So what actually changed? Consistency. From 1999 to 2024, the K-balls were basically fresh out of the box on game day, with a 1-hour scramble to work them in using only water, towels, brushes, and tacky sponges. Equipment staffs raced the clock. Sometimes kickers even met their game balls at kickoff. Lose the first K-ball into the stands on an extra point or a field goal, ball 2 and 3 might be less conditioned. Your practice range just shrank mid-game. Under G2, teams do the exact same legal prep, but do it earlier, better, and across the entire week. Kickers basically practice with the exact K-balls they use on Sunday. Officials still inspect pressure, size, and the surface, and toss anything that's overworked. Each K-ball can be used up to 3 consecutive games. The point isn't to juice the ball, it's to remove randomness. The vote was 31-1. Chicago dissented. Part of the push came from a weirder problem. In 2024, some tracker chips reportedly came loose inside balls during tight pregame windows. Teams were stuck with bad K-balls and no time to fix it. G2 in that light was as much about quality control as distance. It solved the logistics issue as much as a performance one. So what does long range do to football? The NBA's three-pointers stretch the floor and force defenses to cover spaces that they used to ignore. In the NFL, the 60-yard leg stretches time. It changes how you call end-of-half drives. If your kicker is live from the opposing 40, your 2-minute offense doesn't need the sideline miracle. You can throw the 8-yard dig. You can run the draw. You can use the entire playbook because your makeable range is a lot bigger. Fourth down decisions live on a knife edge of expected value. Boost the long-range field goal from the high 50s to the high 60s, and more drives end with points. That doesn't kill aggression. If anything, the threat of the 3 from midfield puts defenses in conflict. Sit on the sticks to force the kick and you'll give up the seam. Play deeper against the explosive pass and you're conceding the underneath throw that moves the attempt from 57 to 53 and turns maybe into likely. Think about endgames. A 62-yarder used to feel like theater. Now it's viable. That forces defenses to push offenses out of range, not just away from the logo. Blitz philosophies shift. Clock management changes. Field position, especially off punts, ratchets up in value. And when the weather's warm or the stadium's closed, the target score you need to protect in the final minute climbs. We've seen it in action. Chase McLaughlin hit 65 outdoors. Brandon Aubrey drilling from distances that didn't exist a decade ago. Cameron Dicker converting a 57-yard fair catch kick, the first successful one since the 1970s. And Justin Tucker 66, once untouchable, suddenly looks within reach. Whenever offenses gain an edge, the league eventually rebalances. It moved extra points back in 2015. It reworked kickoffs to encourage returns. The next lever could be the uprights themselves. The Pro Bowl once experimented with narrowing them to 14 feet. If long-range accuracy keeps climbing, that's an easy adjustment. Will it happen? Special teams coaches push back. If you narrow the target, the best will adapt. There's a point where you're not restoring balance. You're punishing excellence. It's like making the football heavier because quarterbacks throw too many yards. At what point do you stop moving the goalposts? Others claim the K-ball changed inflated results, but early 2025 2025 numbers don't show a huge spike. They show continuity, the same trend that began years earlier, driven by better coaching and smarter processes. The rules didn't inflate leg strength, it standardized conditions. Of course, weather still matters. Cold air shortens distance. Wind humbles even the best. Every attempt still runs on a 1.3-second fuse. Millimeters decide outcomes. Kickers train like specialists for those fractions. Explosive lifts, tempo work, and mental focus under pressure. They're not robots. They're athletes built for precision under chaos. So is this really a three-point revolution? Here's the cleanest way to see it. First, spacing. The mere threat of a 60-yard make stretches the defense's time horizon. 2-minute drills look different because range starts earlier. Second, shot selection. Teams take the long three because the math supports it. A high 60s kick from 50 to 56 is the football equivalent of a great expected value possession. Third, roster construction. Teams now invest in the entire operation, long snappers, holders, protection, because it all scales with range. Fourth, the metagame. Defenses now defend field goal like NBA teams defend corner threes. Deny the easy setup. Blitzes that once gamble for sacks now gamble to push an offense one step farther back. Every yard you steal is an expected point swing. Once teams embrace the math, the skills raise accelerated. Coaching follows incentives. Players train to the shot that matters most. Tools sharpen, attempts rise, cultures change. Zoom in and you'll find a few archetypes driving the moment. The late bloomer technician, now drafted for leg celebrity, builds a lab of reps, refines tempo, and manages ball flight like a golfer. He changes how his coordinator calls the middle 8 minutes. Drives ending on the 37 now feel like points, not shrugs. Then there's the thunder leg, the guy who can threaten 65 under dome conditions. You may not call it often, but the mere presence shapes defense. End of half strategy grows by 8 more yards. Defenses guard routes and sideline access differently because those 8 yards turn an attempt from fantasy into likely. There's the operation savant, not the biggest leg and not the most famous name, but he never fights the laces, never panics the tilt, never misses the spot ball. The unit lives between 1.28 and 1.32 seconds. Blocks vanish. Coaches trusted attempt, 4th down math gets cleaner. And there's the analytic native coach. He grew up on expected points. He doesn't flinch at a 57-yarder in the second quarter because the EV is there. Opposing coordinators lose a down, defending the stakes because they're already thinking, we can't give up the 7 to get them into 55. And then they give up the 9. What gets rewritten next? Records for starters. Tucker's 66 is the football record with the shortest life expectancy. The conditions have to line up, but the talent pool is deeper, the process tighter, and we're seeing more attempts near the edge. A 67 or a 68-yarder isn't science fiction anymore. It's a scheduling question. Strategic counters will come. If long accuracy stabilizes near 70% and attempts stay high, we'll hear about narrowing the posts again. Maybe the league resists. Maybe it trims a foot or two, but maybe it keeps the current width but tweaks other levers. Hash marks, placement rules after penalties, or protection constraints to bring blocks back into the equation. There are hidden butterfly effects. The draft value of long snappers rise. Cap dollars shift into special teams. Roster spots get protected for holders who can contribute an offense or defense. College pipelines prioritize two-sport athletes who can convert soccer mechanics into football leverage. A subtle revolution leaves fingerprints everywhere. If you love the sports strategy, you will love this era. The three-point shot didn't just add highlights, it rewrote possessions. Long-range kicking is doing the same in football. Quietly, ruthlessly, and precisely. No one buys a kicker's jersey for yards after contact. No fantasy app explodes when a holder gets the tilt right. But when the game slows to a heartbeat and the stadium holds his breath, the most reliable 3 points in sports belong to a league that never drew a line on the field. So did the K-ball rule cause the revolution, or did it make it impossible to ignore? Either way, the next time your coach points at the uprights from a place that used to belong to a prayer, understand that's not luck, that's the new map. And that is the NFL's three-point revolution.